Today, we're going to be taking a look at a $300 gaming mini PC and seeing if it's actually worth buying. I found this PC on Amazon, which in the title, it does say that it is a mini gaming PC, which obviously means they claim that this computer can run some games. This PC is from a company called Ace Magician, who actually sells a ton of different types of computers. By mistake though, I did accidentally purchase the variant with 32GB of RAM instead of 16GB, which will mean performance will be different from the cheaper model. But just expect a little less performance and you can still get at least an idea of what to expect. So inside the box, it's pretty simple and minimal packaging, with the mini PC being the first thing that you see, along with some additional wires, a mount, and some papers. Overall, the unboxing experience is quite simple and honestly nothing too special. The PC itself is entirely made of plastic, but doesn't feel like it would easily break. There is ventilation on the sides, along with a few ports in the front like USB 3.0, a headphone jack, and USB-C. And on the back side, you do have a wide array of ports like HDMI, LAN, power plug, and some additional USB ports. The most key part of this computer though is the size. This thing is absolutely tiny and doesn't really take any space at all, which is important if you have a smaller desk setup or just want something to not take too much space. The power button is located on top, which is easily accessible, along with feet on the bottom to prevent it from sliding around your desk. But to be honest, the design is quite basic, but it does get the job done. Booting this computer up, it does take around 30 seconds to get to the login page, which is pretty good, and that has to do with the SSD inside. As for the specs, it has a Ryzen 7 5700U, which has 8 cores and 16 threads, and has a max boost clock of 4.3 GHz. Although this CPU is about 3 years old now, it still has a decent amount of power and will be able to do normal PC tasks like surfing the web. The CPU should still last you for quite a while, which is pretty good for what you're paying. This PC unfortunately does not have a dedicated GPU and comes with the integrated Radeon graphics. This should be good enough for basic tasks, but as for gaming, you're going to see what the performance is like soon. As said earlier, I did accidentally purchase a version with 32GB of RAM, but it is expandable too, so if you do want to make an upgrade, you do have the option. On top of all this, it does come with a 500GB SSD, which will be enough for some games and will make sure your PC feels snappy. Now for some benchmarks. First game I tried was CS2, which is a relatively easy game to run on most computers. The graphics were set to low, and at 1080p we were hovering around 60 FPS, which was a lot lower than I thought it was going to be. I did also experience some lag spikes here and there, which made the experience a little bit annoying, especially when trying to flick or quickly turn around. I will say though that it is definitely playable, and if you're playing on a low refresh rate monitor, the experience won't be so bad. Next game I tried was Fortnite, and on performance settings on low at 1080p, we were seeing around 100 FPS, but the experience was pretty choppy. Whenever I made a movement or flicked my mouse, the FPS would be all over the place, which made it hard to aim and also have a decent experience. I did also try limiting the FPS to 120 FPS to see if that would help with the frame spikes, and while it did help a little, the frame drops were still there, which was unfortunate. I would totally recommend, if you have this mini PC, to lower the graphics settings to around 900 or 720p, or lower the graphics scales to around 80%. This should allow you to get a much better experience, which obviously making your game look a bit worse. I also did try to test Warzone, but for some reason the game would just not load, but based off the experience from the previous two games, I would assume that it wouldn't be a good one. So for the last game, I decided to try out Valorant, which is a game that can pretty much run on anything. And to no surprise, we were seeing around 100 FPS on low settings at 1080p, and I would be pretty disappointed if the game was lagging even on Valorant, but this is a very playable experience and really no complaints at all. There weren't many lag spikes or almost none at all, and overall this was a pretty average Valorant experience. Basically, I wouldn't necessarily call this mini PC a gaming mini PC, but for sure it can run easier titles like Valorant and get you a pretty good experience. I also believe with the correct tweaks, you can most likely get a lot of the games to a playable experience. But this PC obviously excels in basic PC tasks, and you won't find any issues just searching the web or watching videos online. But overall though, if I did have to recommend this computer, I really wouldn't recommend it specifically for gaming, but if you're someone who is on a tight budget and wants to play some lighter titles on the side, then this computer will be able to do so. There are some other mini game PCs I saw online around the same price range, which actually have a dedicated GPU, which is something I will be checking out in the future. But if you are looking to an alternative to this, make sure to check out my video on a $300 gaming PC I recently put together right here.